Return to the channel Sexy Red. We've broached Sexy Red on this channel before as well. And Joe Budden on his podcast recently gave his thoughts on what he felt was Sexy Red code switching and going back to making ghetto degenerate music, which he perceives her perception to be that that's her base. So to try and summarize this whole situation here, Sexy Red, of course, known for her ratchet pocket rap, right? That's kind of what she was known for. She puts out this song with Bruno Mars, which was somewhat of a departure from what she typically does, but the song not very well received. It bombed. So in response to that, Sexy Red goes back to the well and puts out a song called Hoochie Coochie. And so Joe Budden and the people on his show, they were talking about this situation, and Joe Budden is saying, you tried to code switch because you thought that you can get mass appeal, and now you want to come back to us with your Hoochie Coochie song, giving us that black degenerate music because you think that that's what we want to hear. And Joe Budden is just not here for the code switching. He believes it does a disservice to artistry and all of that good stuff. So this says, Joe Budden says Sexy Red's Hoochie Coochie is force-feeding black audience with degenerate track. Joe Budden has never been shy about airing his opinions, and his recent critique of Sexy Red's collaboration with Bruno Mars is no exception. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, the veteran rapper turned cultural commentator took aim at the track Fat, Juicy, and Wet, calling it whitewashed and questioning the intent behind its commercial packaging. While online chatter mistakenly linked his critique to a non-existent Sexy Red song titled Hoochie Coochie, Budden's actual concern centers on what he perceives as a growing reliance on stereotypes to capture the attention of black audiences. Budden suggested the collaboration feels more like a marketing formula than a sincere musical expression. He took particular issue with Bruno Mars, an artist who built his career on vintage soul and pop, veering into hypersexualized territory, seemingly to match Red's provocative energy. To Budden, the move felt more like a costume than creative evolution. He compared the tactic to politicians pandering to marginalized voters by adopting exaggerated performative personas, familiar, calculated, and hollow. So, correction, there is actually no such song as Hoochie Coochie, but he did challenge, nevertheless, her attempt to mainstream herself by going with this song with Bruno Mars, and it didn't work. So here is some of that sound from that exchange where, Joe Budden is talking about how he feels about, Sexy Red doing this.
It ain't your juice. It ain't your feng shui that's doing it. You are relying on whatever you're relying on. So if you don't have all of those same variables with you, whatever same shit was working in the universe on your next go, I just can't rely on you to deliver me the product that made me a fan of you because you're leasing it. She's leasing it. I'm calling a spade. She's leasing it. Whatever this is ain't from them. I ain't seen a credit. I can assure you it ain't from the same people that was there before. Shit. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But just off hearing it, nah.
Okay.
Now she fucks with my people, so I hope that they do well. But enough of y'all just force feeding ghetto bullshit to black people because we fucking listen to it and this is our hood and this is our shit. Because when you cleaned up when you went over there with Bruno Mars, I'm a little mad at her, actually. I'm a little mad at her. Don't come back over here with this degenerate shit after you tried to go clean up with Bruno Mars and it didn't work. Don't do that. Nope.
See, I get that. I'm not mad at that.
I ain't doing it.
Because I gotta go back to what works. I tried something different. Like I always say about artists, I want you to try.
My fanfare is not second tier. I'm not mad at nobody trying. My fanfare is not second tier.
So you feel like she abandoned her core group?
She did what everybody did. She did what bitches do and what artists do.
You gonna make me cape for her now?
Cape for her, but that's what she did.
She did. I could see if she did a whole project of that. She did one song.
So
I tried something.
So
that don't mean I abandoned everybody with one song.
No, there's a lot of numbers between 0 and 100. There's a lot of numbers between 0 and 100.
Bro, she kept her image the same. She was still doing all the ratchet shit in her pictures. She did not.
Well, we forced to say
fully.
that because we didn't see a successful image built around that song with Bruno. That
it didn't work.
But I know, but the intention remains the same. The intention remains the same. And no, as an artist, listen, I'm not telling everybody else how to view it, but niggas that make music and niggas that's into the artistry of it, no, you don't get to just treat the audience that built you up as some abandoned foster kid when you have other motives. No, you don't get to do that.
I don't see
Sorry,
it.
Sexyy
but
Red.
Again, we going to disagree on that. I don't see that she did that.
Yeah, but it's not here for us to disagree because what I'm stating is facts. Fuck how I feel about it.
Okay. Yeah.
The facts of the matter is you started at 0, built your shit up with ghetto black classics.
Mm-hmm.
And your image was having everybody look at you like, did she really just put that bullshit, that ghetto nasty fucking hood project shit in a song?
Mm-hmm.
That was her image.
That's a fact.
She tried to go a different route, I say altogether. If y'all hear that Bruno song and think that that's in the same vein as what she was doing, then fine.
Not at all.
I'm not talking to you. But she tried to do something else.
Correct.
It did not work. This was her Starships Nicki moment. Is it Starships I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody get a wake-up call. This is hers. So granted, when you come back, it got to be with heat. It can't be with that. I'm back to farting on a record pad. They go a fart on a record pad. And now we just there to eat it up. No, my dollar today in this economy, in this system, my fanfare is worth more than that.
So what did you say?
All right. So,
all right, hey, bro, before you go on, there is a song called Hoochie Coochie. And it's a ratchet mess. But go on.
it is a Sexyy Red song.
It's a Sexyy Red song.
Okay.
Ratchet
Now,
mess.
why did the article say that? Did I read that wrong? The article said, while online chatter mistakenly linked his critique to a non-existent Sexyy Red song titled Hoochie Coochie. Like, so the article must be wrong with that.
Yeah, they are, because I'm sitting here looking at the debauchery as we speak.
All right, well, I'm glad we cleared that up then. The critique didn't stop with Mars. Budden also questioned the motives behind high-profile cosigns, pointing specifically to Drake's recent championing of Sexyy Red. Budden floated the possibility that money, not mentorship, might be driving such support. In his view, these alliances sometimes feel more transactional than authentic, blurring the line between industry promotion and genuine artistic connection. That comment alone stirred debate, reigniting long-standing questions about influence, exposure, and how emerging artists navigate the modern music ecosystem. So that was Budden's take there. Basically saying she cold switched by trying to go mainstream, and that doesn't work. And so now you want to come back to us, but you want to come back to us with more of the ignorance, more of the debauchery, more of the salacious, degenerate, nonsense. So what do you think about that?
So I'm gonna give my spill. So I guess you can put because that's what I did, man. While the audio was playing, I had to do my little market research real quick. But yeah, man, just to do a little pause. I mean, a mute on your side or something, if you will, and then check out the Bruno Mars video and how that looks, and then check out Hoochie Coochie.
Okay.
And then from there, I think you can probably pick up what Joe's putting down. So. Now, I just went and looked at it because, believe it or not, guys, I don't go around listening to Sexyy Red, nor do I do any Sexyy Red market research unless there's a topic that comes up, okay? So I looked at the Bruno Mars video. I heard a bit of the audio. There was a switch up there. That's definitely not the atypical Sexyy Red. The type of clothes she was wearing, the way she was carrying herself, from the beat to how the song plays out. It's definitely a commercialized, user-friendly song. I would not be surprised if I went to a pub, you know what I'm saying, a bar, at some type of, kickback situation where there's pickleball being played, that I would hear that kind of song. So that's what it was made for. It sounds ready for the radio. So I get that, but I don't think it was due to. So here's why I disagree with Joe. I don't think she came out with Hoochie Coochie because the Bruno Mars song flopped. I think she came out with Hoochie Coochie because, well, she's a hoochie and she's all about popping box. All right. So what she tried to do there, or what the label tried to do there, they tried it. They tried to get a Sexyy Red song on the radio, iHeart stuff. And so I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to iHeart, but I would be surprised if that song's not on the radio. So I think the mission was accomplished with that song with Bruno Mars. It sounds the regular formulaic thing that I would hear from any other industry crossover song. And then I think Hoochie Coochie also works because that's the song for the strip clubs. So that's the song where, girls are, on Memorial Weekend on the trunk of a car, popping thought pockets. So I think what the label is doing with their cash cow box rapper is, just running the gambit. Will this work? Will that work? I don't think it was just because she tried to cross over with another group of people and it failed. I don't think so. I think looking at those numbers, it looks like it did well. And I wouldn't be surprised if I go out somewhere. So I disagree with Joe's initial stance. I agree overall with the premise that if you cross over, there's a cleaner type of way to do it. And then if you want to make something for the blacks, okay, there's a certain way you do that. Now, that I agree with that premise, but I don't agree that the Bruno Mars thing was a fail. I think it accomplished its goal. But what are your thoughts, man, on Joe Budden around here calling out Sexyy Red and her lack of crossover, and then now coming over to the black people with ratchetness? What are your thoughts, man?
Okay, so Joe Budden. One thing that I appreciate about Joe Budden is, even though Joe Budden is unlike most people in the content creator hip hop space who pander to artists in order to not offend people. Joe Budden doesn't care if you like him or not. Like, Joe Budden's not trying to preserve relationships. He doesn't care. Like, Drake don't like Joe Budden because Joe Budden will be critical of Drake. Even though Joe Budden has also said he feels like Drake is one of the greatest. I don't agree with this, of course, but Joe Budden has said that in his opinion, Drake is one of the greatest artists ever because he's put out a lot of classic albums. Like, he thinks very highly of like Drake's Views album and all of that. So he holds Drake in extreme high regard, despite the fact that he will unmute to go at Drake. And Drake doesn't like that. And so they don't have a very good relationship. It's very contentious. My point in bringing that up is Joe Budden does not perform his current job for the purposes of making sure that he's not upsetting people in the industry. He's going to express how he feels about stuff, and he's not going to pander. The reason why I bring that up is because when he does praise a particular artist for what they're doing, I believe him. And when he critiques them, I also believe that too. I just believe he's being honest the majority of the time. And because I believe that he's being honest the majority of the time, I believe he believes this about Sexyy Red. And he believes that she's doing a disservice to artistry by doing this code switching thing, thinking that you got to hoochie coochie it up in order to appeal to a black audience, instead of making whatever you think you should make, and it will appeal to whomever it appeals to. While I understand the sentiment, the central problem with what Budden is saying is his assumption that Sexyy Red is an artist. Um,
Correct.
I don't think I don't. With all due respect to Joe Budden, I don't think Sexyy Red cares about being an artist.
No.
We talked about this I don't even remember who we were talking about or what we were talking about, but it was along these similar lines. Like, I don't think she cares about artistic merit or being an artist. I just think she cares about being a hip hop star. Like, she cares about making hits, songs that's gonna get played, that's gonna get her beats on streaming or radio if you still care about radio, so that she can perform her shows and make her money and get played up on the algorithm. Like, she merely cares about being a hip hop star. She's a bot. She doesn't care about being an artist. So Joe Budden's entire premise only makes sense from the standpoint that you're assuming Sexyy Red cares about artistry. And she doesn't. She doesn't care about artistry. She just cares about busting it wide open and making songs for the club and the strip club and blah, blah, blah. So because that's what I believe she prioritizes and cares about, this notion that her code switching is an affront to artistry kind of doesn't wash, because she doesn't care about artistry. That's Joe Budden applying his sensibilities to what Sexyy Red's doing. And it just doesn't work, and it doesn't make sense, because what appeals to Joe Budden musically isn't what appeals to Sexyy Red musically or her audience. And he's not going to be able to recreate the world in his image in which that does apply. It simply doesn't. And if you continue to listen to more of that clip, Joe Budden will get eventually around to the point where he is like, well, at the end of the day, I have to admit, this doesn't really appeal to my sensibilities. And, if I've gotten older, and, for the way that my music listening ear works, this particular type of thing just no longer appeals to me, if it ever did. And I hear that, because I'm the same way, but I'm not making the mistake of assuming that Sexyy Red cares about art. If I'm going to make that assumption, then I'm also going to have to assume that about Ice Spice. And I damn sure know she don't care about art. I'm going to have to make the same assumption about Young Miami. And she don't care about art. So it's just about who it is that you're talking about and who you're dealing with. I do think the unfortunate thing is artistry has 100% taken a back seat to degenerate sounds being pumped and dumped to the masses by the music industry that's paying to put a particular kind of sound in front of people's faces forcefully. But that's a greater referendum on the ecosystem of the music industry and how that operates and how it prioritizes the sound of individuals like Sexyy Red, but that is completely independent of the prioritization of artistry. And if you care about that particular aspect of the conversation, you can't use Sexyy Red as your case study, because she ain't thinking about art. She's just thinking about popping it wide open.
Yeah. And I can't believe I forgot over that. I skimmed over that in my initial thing. But yeah, I mean, she's an industry plant. So her job is to drive down the value of a particular type of women, and it's working. It's working. So I had to look this up, man, because that drove some interest here of what record label is she on. So she's a part of Gamma. I've never heard of these people. But they got people like Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, Usher. I've never even heard of Gamma.
That's a record label?
Yeah.
It might be a subsidiary, because that don't sound like a record label. But I
mean, you can. I don't know, but I'll just try looking it up. I put label, so it probably is some type of subsidiary. I didn't put record label, but yeah, it's some other thing. I've never heard of this thing, but this to me has a similar fingerprint on it of how they would roll out any other major artist. To get the likes of Bruno Mars on a song and to make that attempt They're really trying to drive this Sexyy Red thing home. They really tried to hit something out of the park with this. And the name of the song Hoochie Coochie, if it does what they anticipated it to do, for it to be a catchy saying and phrase, something that's memeable, other things like that, it's going to have its own version of replay value. And she's back on the streets again like a brown booty hole. You know what I'm saying? So she would strike again. So I don't care for how. So I wouldn't blame Sexyy Red for this. I would blame the label.
Of course, yeah.
I think this is all a part of the label manipulating the minds of its listeners. And if I was those people that they're trying to cross over to, I would be afraid of this. Because it's going to hit somebody over there. And now whoever was like, hey, who's this Sexyy Red lady? Or, hey, that's the brown booty hole girl. I didn't know she can make songs like this with Bruno Mars. And then now they fell on over to the Hoochie Coochie. So nobody wins in this scenario when there's people like Sexyy Red running around. So, these agents of chaos, as you like to say, these agents of chaos, they don't get a pass from me anymore. She is a willing participant in the debauchery. Some may say that she's not even smart enough to know that she is being used as a pawn. But I would say that even if she did know, she wouldn't care.
She would, yeah.
She doesn't care. She's like, bro, just pay me. You know what I'm saying? And so she's the perfect industry plant. You mentioned Ice Spice earlier. She's the perfect industry plant. I mean, you don't get no better than these people. You don't, because they are like, use me however. And they don't give a damn. It don't make no sense. Every time I'm sitting trying to look for a topic or whatever, I see Ice Spice on there for the dumbest of reasons. She's on there for no reason at all. Who's paying for this? Nobody cares about her, but these labels are making sure she's staying some type of algorithm. So it was that same thing that was going on when 6ix9ine was popping or whatever, if you want to call what he was doing popping. But you could not get that kid out of the algorithm. And he was everywhere. And it wasn't because of his music. It wasn't even really because of his shenanigans, even though he was doing a lot of it. It was just that it would be the smallest of things. Even now, while I'm sitting here trying to look for stuff, you'll still see him pop in the thing. Like, who gives a damn about this guy anymore? He wasn't the perfect one because he kind of crashed out. But he was such a cash cow, they got him out. So that's what they always do with these guys. You know what I'm saying? Even though people would say that NBA YoungBoy is not an industry plant, he's an industry plant in the sense that they gave this kid a platform. So he can be as talented as people would like to argue that he is. This kid's getting a platform because of the level of debauchery he can come out with. As much as I used to like, young Kodak when he first came out, man, because I thought he was a talented young man, talking about wild stuff, but I still felt as though he was doing a good job capturing certain things and certain elements. But, whenever he would get into trouble, he'd be back on the streets again. And there's certain things that they do with certain cash cows. That the industry makes sure that these people are constantly recording and making music. And so Sexyy Red is no different. She's just a female version of it. So Joe Budden could be offended by the Bruno Mars crossover and then the next one. But I'm telling you, she's going to do this. She's going to continue to do this. This has nothing. They don't care if it flops. They're going to keep pumping it. And something's going to hit. Because these labels are more invested in my opinion, these labels are more invested in the further degradation of society than them making money. They'll make money in the process, but they're more invested in pumping out disgusting messages. So they're going to find whoever, promote whoever who's going to keep doing the most debaucherous things. So of course, you know, she's got all of this stuff rolled out. I mean, look how much money that just from you looking at those two videos, you know, as ratchet as the second one was, there was a lot of money that went into that. You know, relatively speaking, to how other hood videos are. And because there's money, they put money behind this. So yeah, y'all. So I would just say, just be mindful of how these labels are trying to play you. And to dig into a little bit into the last topic, you know, one of the reasons, one of the elements that is driving down our lack of morale is this type of music promoted by those labels that want to continue to make us consumers and box poppers. Because you know, as I've mentioned before, if you're sexually out of control, then you're all the way out of control. So that's why Sexyy Red is here. Red is also the color of your base animal sexual nature. So that's why she's Sexyy Red. That's why she's out here promoting the red energy. Diddy, whenever he was having his Diddler get-offs, he said he wanted the room all red. He wanted the room all red because it's symbolic of that kind of energy. So that's why Sexyy Red is here. She's here to be an agent of destruction, an agent of chaos, and try to convince people to think and behave in a certain way. So for Joe Budden, as you mentioned, to assume or treat or talk to her like she's some type of artist is asinine, and it's comical in itself. So I would just say, look at these labels, and I will point my finger at them for trying to pull a fast one on its listeners.
Yeah, it is ludicrous, but he can't help himself. If you know anything about Joe Budden's musical history, I don't know how many Joe Budden fans there are out there, let alone how many Joe Budden fans who might be listening to this. He might be a gas bag now, but when he was a rapper, he was on that. I'm not trying to suggest that he was, you know, so good or whatever. I'm not trying to state how great he was, but his approach to making music was like he was a rapper's rapper. He was on the lyrical stuff. He was on the bar stuff. So he might big up a lot of current music, but trust me, I don't think most current music appeals to his sensibilities. So when he speaks in this manner, he's doing it from the standpoint of his own sensibilities, which is approaching the music artfully. But art is not what is prioritized when it comes to this particular kind of music. It's about other things, other agendas, so to speak. So I think what he has to say in essence is okay, but I just don't think it's applicable because he's talking about an individual who doesn't care about, prioritize, even thinks about art. So, you know, maybe find a better messenger. Now, if you had somebody who was code switching, who did uphold themselves in an artistic way, it would make more sense. But I feel like it's wasted energy to have this kind of conversation talking about somebody like her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she don't care about art. So what are we doing here? Like, she's not an artist. She's just, I don't even know what you call her. To me, she's a hip hop star. That's what she is. And star only because of her popularity, not because she does anything particularly noteworthy other than promote debauchery. So it is what it is.
Hey man, have at it, y'all. So but hey, let us know down in the comment section, guys. Y'all agree with Joe Budden? You feel as though, as an artist, Sexyy Red is doing the game a disservice and trying to sell out. And then on the flip side of that, when that didn't work, she's have to make her ghetto classics for us Negroes. Do you agree with Joe? What are your thoughts, man?
Hey, look, man, I do know one thing. It's very hard to code switch when you have no code. So
Hey, well said, sir. Put that on the shirt. Shit.